about Otto. When I heard about the technology back in 2019, it was a bit of a jaw dropper. First of all, can they really do this? Secondly, I had my background training in school is as a physicist, so I had some familiarity in aerospace engineering, some familiarity with laminar flow and the potential breakthrough that it was, as well as its ability. Once you can take drag out of an aircraft, you get this incredible virtuous cycle out of it, which is your fuel burn goes down, the weight of the fuel goes down, the fuel tanks get smaller, the engine can therefore become lighter. That recycles, and the aircraft eventually becomes lighter. Then you mix the lower drag with a lighter weight airplane and lighter weight engines, and you get yet another after booster in terms of fuel efficiency. So a 30% drag reduction really ends up being closer to a 50% fuel burn reduction after that recycling is done on a new aircraft program. So that was just, we haven't seen that kind of a breakthrough in jets since the 707. I mean, the Boeing 707, the biggest breakthrough in terms of fuel efficiency was really the invention of the high bypass turbofan engine in the 1970s. And that was sort of back then, a 35 to 40% breakthrough in fuel efficiency. This is a 50%er, and that just hasn't come around in the last 50 years, which is really exciting. Very novel aircraft. Obviously, they're really pushing the efficiency, and a pusher prop and a diesel engine, very, very, very efficient. But people also want safety, security, and speed. So they want two engines. They want to be able to go fast. And that's the majority of people who want to fly private. Is as they want two engines, they want to go fast, and they want that safety and security. So now, in our particular case, we didn't give up efficiency. The challenge, the Solera 500 was really the first instantiation of a laminar flow aircraft. We were able to take all that test data and then refine it. In fact, we could use that test data. We actually started building our own computational fluid dynamics code, because there is no code that can accurately predict laminar flow. Nothing accurately predicts laminar flow. So we actually built our own algorithms on top of an open source system that NASA CFD code. And then we began to refine it. And then we also found, in order to do laminar flow accurately, it had to run on massive computers, because you need to get the element size down. So we're talking, 60 million to 80 million elements. That's a huge CFD problem. Yeah. They were taking days to run, even on a supercomputer. So that's what allowed us to more accurately predict laminar flow. And then we could take that and build a transonic aircraft and see how far we could sweep the wings until we lost laminar flow. And when you sweep the wings, you can go faster. And actually, when you go faster at very low drag, you actually pick up some efficiency there. So the new aircraft is actually much more efficient than the original aircraft in terms of
what made you
gallon.
What made you get involved in the project? Obviously it's it's a startup. It's probably right. Obviously your entrepreneurial spirit kicked in. What made you decide to get involved with this?
Well, I was at the State Department when this aircraft came out. I was doing a little bit of a tour of duty, giving some service back to the country, working for Secretary Pompeo, and having a lot of fun doing that. And then, of course, my 2-year tenure ended, and I was a bit of a free agent, and they were still looking to raise money. And I thought, gosh, a couple of tweaks and building first of all, they need a commercial product. Once we can get a commercial product that kind of hits the sweet spot of super mid aircraft, boy, would this be a breakthrough. When I was at Exojet, I used to just stare at the fuel prices, because our profitability was so sensitive to even pennies change. And we had bonus programs out there for the pilots to try and, reduce fuel burn and all kinds of things. This was a whopper. It cut the fuel burn in half. Number one. I mean, that would have made Exojet swimmingly profitable. Then with a smaller aircraft, a lighter aircraft with smaller engines, because laminar flow doesn't require the size engines to push the aircraft through the air, you're also getting your maintenance cost cut in half. And you take those two things, most airlines are operating, at the margins, 3, 4, 5, 6% profitability. It's a game changer. And then on top of that, you could offer better prices to the customer. And so it was just an obvious instant realization that if we could really crack the code on getting the operating costs down on private jets, we could open up private jets to a whole new class of consumers. It's right now, it's just a little too far out of reach, but if you can get the operating costs cut in half, it opens up the probably quadruples the size of the people that can fly private.
Yeah. Let's talk about the specs of the airplane a little bit. You talk about it's an interesting design, no windows.
Correct.
So obviously, and you're not the first person that's kind of come out with the no window. Some other people have talked about it. So using cameras to bring out the outdoors in.
Yep.
Who's your engine supplier? What are you thinking about on the engine side?
So we have the Williams FJ44-4 engine on the aircraft. Great engine. We're very happy with the engine. It's also certified to 51,000 feet. So that's a little bit of a unique element because they're military routes on the cruise missile. They certify their aircraft to high altitudes, and it actually gets more efficient at that higher altitude. So that's good for us. So the aircraft flies at 51,000 feet. We direct climb fully fueled, 38 minutes right up to 51,000 feet. 51,000 feet gets us a much lower, I don't want to get too technical here, but Reynolds number. The atmosphere gets a lot thinner at that altitude, and that makes for a much more efficient laminar flow wing. So one of the interesting things about laminar flow aircraft is that it changes everything: where the aircraft optimally flies, how the wing is constructed, what kind of flaps you put on the wing, what you do with the fuselage. Because we are flying higher, we're flying about, on average, 10,000 feet higher. The density altitude is about 40% less. So your pressure drag on that big tube pushing through the air drops significantly. Pressure drag is directly proportional to the density. So suddenly we can make the tube bigger and our aircraft gets much bigger. And you don't have to fit into a sardine can anymore. Because in the past, aircraft designers really had to make that tube as small as possible because that was directly proportional to fuel burn. In our case, it's not. So we have a much larger fuselage than other aircraft. So it really is an interesting aircraft. It is designed as a coast-to-coast aircraft. As you know, the longest range is about 2,500 nautical miles coast to coast. The reason that most super mids have 31 or 3,200 nautical miles is because you get into that jet stream at 40,000 feet and you could have 50 knots, 75 knots of headwind. So to do the westbound case reliably, you need a lot of extra range. We fly up to 51,000 feet where the jet stream drops an average of about 40 knots year round. And in the winter, that's closer to 75 knots. So that gives us a westbound advantage. And then, of course, we are designing to put the aircraft at least 3,000 nautical miles with 4 passengers. So we can do that westbound case 99% of the time. So
California to Hawaii too?
We can do California and Hawaii. In fact, California and Hawaii is hit by something called the Pineapple Express 2 to 3 weeks out of the year, sometimes 6 weeks out of the year, where even 4,000 nautical mile planes can't make it. Our aircraft could make it because that Pineapple Express headwind can get up to 200 knots in the nose. But you go up to 51,000 feet and it's gone. So we can actually make it during the Pineapple Express as well, where 4,000 nautical mile aircraft cannot.
What's the general reception of the public? When they look at the aircraft, you're out at WAA a couple of weeks ago. When people look at it, what's the initial reaction?
The most interesting question I got was, does that fly in space? Yeah, I mean, it just looks like something you've never seen at an airport before. It's first of all, it's incredibly smooth. There's nothing hanging off of it. No canoes, no antennas, no steps, no gaps, no fasteners. It's just this pristinely smooth aircraft. Secondly, it's the fuselage looks like a bullet. I mean, it's just this beautifully elliptic shape, also that you've never seen before in an aircraft. And laminar flow, we didn't put a bunch of designers on this thing to make it look pretty. Laminar flow just produces beautiful airplanes. I think it brings that notion of, form follows function to heart. I mean, this is a highly functional airplane and it is beautiful. So the reaction we've gotten from most people is like, they've never seen anything like this before in their life. Just a stunningly beautiful airplane.